Is the demiurge real? The idea of the demiurge is from Gnostic Christianity, where the idea is that this planet, we as people, are kind of in a matrix, that the demiurge is kind of like a false god that rules this planet. And this is sort of like a learning school. You're supposed to graduate, kind of get out of this, but you can kind of keep reincarnating on this prison planet. It's kind of like the Matrix where you're in that little tube and you think you're living a life, but you're really in your own head and you're trapped. And it's kind of like a slave kind of planet. And the channel, the prison called Life, brought this to my attention a couple years back. And I'd always had a suspicion about this. And they say there's stories of people like going to the light in a near-death experience, and then you come back here, but there's the idea that you're supposed to not go towards the light and be in the vast dark space and escape reincarnating on this prison planet. And the idea also too is the Bible isn't about Jesus as a person, it's about sacrificing your lower self to attain your higher self. It's about transcending your lower self, transcending the demons within you, the hell within you. You create your own hell. It's not, hell isn't a place to go, it's a state of being, it's a mental state. It's, separation from the one, separation from God. When you're one, there's no separation. The pain is from that separation. Gnostic Christianity has a very interesting take on life itself, even that this essentially very Hindu, where this world that we're in isn't real. This is just a prison, essentially. It's a dream. It's like the movie Inception. It's a dream within a dream. It's kind of like when you're dreaming, everything just appears. There's no Big Bang and all this stuff appears and this and that. You're just in the dream and everything's real, but it's all you. When you're in that dream, it's all you. The demons in your own dream, the crazy person you're running from, or whatever is in your dream is just it's your subconscious. It's you. Everything is you in that dream. And when you stop dreaming, you wake up. It all falls away. It's not real. And Gnostic Christianity has that element to it, especially with the Bible stories can be looked at in different ways. If you look at it as an allegory instead of a documentary, when you start looking at everything as a parable, the entire thing as a parable, like Garden of Eden sort of stuff. The world was perfect, but you got cast out. It's kind of like you got bored with the perfect connection with the Lord. You needed to know distance to appreciate that. The descendants never even had that relationship with God. So it's finding your way home, like the prodigal son, for example, that story. If you look at it from a Gnostic Christian, from gnosis, Gnosis, is essentially awakening. If you look at the prodigal son, that's like two parts of the self. There's the son that stays with the father, that stays with God, and never feels the need to leave because he knows the world out there isn't worth it, while the other son has to go out in the world and waste all the money, and he comes back, and then the good son is like mad, like, oh, you throw the party for him, he wasted your well, son went out there to experience separation, so almost he can appreciate his father even more from that separation. So that's the thing with gnosis, Gnostic Christianity. There, if you read the Bible from that perspective of more of a esoteric view, if you look at it more about the internal challenges, every if you look at every story about the self, about your inner demons, about that sort of thing, the messages of the Bible have a lot more weight. It's not about following these stories and knowing the Bible at the back of your hand. You start using the story in your own life. You can see the higher and lower self. You can see these interconnections. You can see the paths that the Bible shows. It's all roads leading back to oneness. And so and it also showed me that there's a lot for me to learn. I have some Bibles at home that, I'm reading through with a different perspective. You see that if you're looking at these stories as not so physical, more spiritual, more esoteric, more in how can I apply the parable to my own life, and how can I apply that to the conflicting higher and lower natures within myself, where like you know something is wrong but yet you do it. It's kind of like there's a quote by a philosopher that's like, you don't know how bad you are until you try to be good, right? You don't see these demons, like this Jungian sort of subconscious that is hiding, that manifests. You try to resist your lower nature, but you have to bring the subconscious conscious to confront it. You have to look into your deepest, darkest self. You have to do that shadow work. And I think Gnostic Christianity can offer that, where you can start looking at the whole world as very different. And it's just a philosophical exercise, like the idea that we're all fleas on a dog's ass, like the Gaia idea that the planet is a living being, and the planet and Earth is a living being. The other planets are actually living beings. We're like fleas on them. Like we don't think it's alive. Like the flea on the dog's ass doesn't even care that it just sucks the blood, this and that. You don't even, your worldview is so small you can't see it farther out. And so I think the Demiurge in Gnostic Christianity offers that like 30,000 foot view of Christianity and of spirituality in general. I think it's a little more accessible for Westerners that don't want to look into Zen or Hinduism. The joke too with Zen is that it's just Hinduism packaged for the West. That it's like the Star Wars thing of like, you are not my father from like Luke, and the Darth Vader is like Hinduism. Like Zen is like the cleaner version. And I kind of feel like Gnostic Christianity is the original Christianity, and the newer versions are just packaged for kind of mass production. And I think there's a depth in Gnostic Christianity, and just general Christian churches don't have the same depth of spiritual investigation. There's a level with Gnostic Christianity when you start having to rethink your whole worldview. If you consider just the idea of the demiurge, whether you think it's real or not, just like the movie The Matrix, just having that thought that the whole thing could be a simulation, that this is a learning school. There's an idea that we have soul contracts and that we chose our lives here. It's kind of like Men in Black. Someone put a stick in front of your eyes to delete your memory, and you came here and you have to find your way home. You have to find your way back to God. But it's a game of hide. I think Alan Watts talks about it's like a game of hide and seek. God's playing a game of hide and seek. You get so far away you forgot that you ever once connected. Right? It's like the hide and seek is with oneself in a way. And Gnostic Christianity offers that. And I think the idea of the demiurge offers something unique. And, like I've talked about in other videos, like Thich Nhat Hanh says, you should use any spiritual practice as a brick to knock on a door. When you can't, there's no doorbell, there's nowhere to knock, the door's too thick. You need something to make a sound so they'll let you in. So you pick up a brick, knock on the door, and then they open the door. You don't carry around that brick once you're inside, you toss it away. You got to where you needed to. And I think a lot of faiths can be that way, or even just something like this intellectual exercise right now that we're doing with the demiurge. You don't need to become a Gnostic Christian. You can just use it as an intellectual exercise, and it accomplishes that goal to move you one step closer. It's another step on the staircase to connecting with our true self. So you don't, what you don't have to become a true blue anything. You don't have to be part of a true faith. You just have to use these phase and these parables as a way to get closer to your own version of spirituality, to your personal relationship with God and the universe. And I find the demiurge is a very unique and thought-provoking way to make that connection, given we have this idea of heaven and hell and good and bad. And I think Rumi says something like, I'll meet you in the garden behind ideas of good and bad, right? Because it's kind of like Alan Watts talks about, like in our blood, we think we're all peaceful, but there's our white blood cells are attacking the germs. There's all these wars going on, and literally inside of our own body to maintain this peaceful outer appearance. There's little wars everywhere, even in our world. So if you think of like a demiurge prison planet, we could be, you know, a body part. We could be the heart of God, for example. Like we're a piece of something else. Like we're all these wars and all this stuff that's going on planet Earth. We planet Earth could be an organ within a being. Like just like our white blood cells are something that exists within us, but it's not us necessarily, right? It's not our consciousness in that sort of way. So we as humans could be white blood cells of a spiritual celestial being. We could have no idea what we really are part of. So I think that's the interesting about Gnostic Christianity. You can start kind of doing that intellectual exercise of really questioning who you are really and what we are really, and birth and death. We're I think Rumi says we're the AI essentially of the minerals. Like we're all built from, we have phosphorus and zinc and all these materials. From dust we came, and from dust we'll go. Like we're made literally of this planet. We're made of stars, and when we die, we disintegrate and we get eaten by things, and those things get eaten by things, and we become something else. Like your body will literally become another human being. Your body will become part of the dust or rock, or become part of a tree, will be absorbed in. Encourage you to look into Gnostic Christianity, look into the idea of the Demiurge just as an intellectual exercise. You don't have to become anything. I think that's the beauty of when you're not part of a dogmatic religion. You can, dip your toe into pools of other thought, and you don't have to become it. There's an idea that true intelligence is like being able to play around with an idea without accepting it as true. That's true, like intellectual maturity is to, you're not unwilling to hear about other philosophies or religions in life. You might learn something, and I definitely have, and so I hope you do too.